Let's get right into it. In this explainer, we're unpacking a really wild, speculative narrative that completely blurs the line between cutting-edge particle physics and ancient theology. It essentially asks us to rethink the physical world, specifically stones and mountains. What if they aren't just dead geology, but actual recording devices?
So here's the hook. Could a spoken word actually physically alter a mountain forever? It's a crazy premise, right? But it pulls us straight into this 1,400-year-old mystery inside the cave of Hira. The story asks, what if the very first revelation of the Quran left a literal, physical imprint inside the rock itself? To even wrap our heads around this investigation, we have to talk about the main tool used by the story's protagonist. He's a CERN engineer named Dr. Zainal, and he uses something called muon tomography. Now, muons are these high-energy cosmic particles constantly raining down on us. They pass right through empty space, but get slowed down by dense stuff. So scientists can actually use them to map out 3D density. It's kind of like a giant X-ray for mountains or, pyramids.
And right away, we get this great central tension, two totally different worldviews colliding. You've got Dr. Zainal, this faith-driven engineer who genuinely thinks ancient speech permanently altered the cave, and pushing back is his colleague Dr. Hans. Hans is your classic, strict materialist physicist who is completely convinced any density variations are just random limestone weathering. It's the ultimate visionary versus skeptic showdown.
So, Zainal decides to test his theory. He lugs a portable muon setup all the way to the cave of Hira and scans this one highly specific 2-square-meter patch of the cave wall for 72 straight hours. After gathering the data, he uses tomographic reconstruction to build a 3D grid, mapping the stone's internal density pixel by pixel. Then, he tries something borderline unthinkable, acoustic inversion. And what the scan reveals is impossible. He finds this lens-shaped region where the density is absolutely not random. It perfectly, and I mean perfectly, matches a structured node and antinode pattern. If you know physics, you know that this specific high and low pressure arrangement is the exact fingerprint of a standing sound wave. It totally defies natural, random geological formation. But how do you prove a patch of dense rock is actually sound? Well, Zainal runs a time reversal acoustic algorithm. Basically, he takes those 3D density gradients trapped in the stone and mathematically translates them backward into the original sound pressure waves that would have created them. He's literally forcing the stone to play back the pressure that shaped its crystals centuries ago. The result in the story is just mind-blowing. When the data plays back, Zainal hears it. It's faint, but it's clear. A 1,400-year-old voice reciting the exact 5 verses of the first Quranic revelation. Iqra. Bismi Rabbika lezi khalaq. Read in the name of your Lord. And the narrative points out it's spoken with absolute perfect phonetic articulation, perfect tajwid. The mountain literally recorded the command. The skeptic's scientific test debunking the artifact. Now, obviously, a guy like Dr. Hans isn't just going to take this at face value. He heads back to CERN to attempt a rigorous scientific takedown of the whole thing. Hans is dead set on proving this is just a glitch, an artifact of the algorithm turning random noise into speech just because Zainal wants to hear it. So he creates synthetic limestone in the lab, purposely embeds random density variations, and runs the exact same audio algorithm. And it fails completely. The lab-created rock just spits out hissing and crackling. It proves a massive point. You literally cannot accidentally fake an acoustic standing wave in a random piece of stone. Digging into why this actually happens, Zainal points to a frequency of 200 hertz. At that specific frequency, the amplitude of the standing sound wave was so incredibly intense that it physically altered how the calcite crystals oriented themselves exactly as they were growing. The rock basically memorized the pressure field of the spoken words. The chemistry of sound, speleochemistry, and crystal growth. Let's zoom way, way in, down to the microscopic level, to see the physical proof locked inside the rock's minerals. Zainal's analysis of the stalactite samples is super revealing here. In the normal layers of calcite, the magnesium to calcium ratio and the evaporation speeds are totally standard. But when you look at the specific layer from 1,400 years ago, the magnesium ratio spikes by 15%, which means evaporation was abnormally slow. Why? Because that intense, sustained sound pressure literally slowed down the water evaporation, baking this unique chemical signature into the rock forever. Hans, still trying to resist this, goes hard into the math. He zeroes in on the exact time gap between the pronunciation of the quf and ra sounds in the Arabic word ikra. In normal human speech, that specific phonetic transition takes exactly 700 milliseconds. So Hans takes that 700 millisecond timing and compares it directly to the stone's physical density. He analyzes the 1.7 millimeter physical gap between the antinodes in the rock, factors in the speed of sound at 343 meters per second, and to his absolute shock, the math works perfectly. The physical millimeter gap in the solid stone is a flawless geometric match to the exact timing of human speech. It's unreal.
Faced with mathematically perfect, undeniable data, Hans completely caves. He realizes that ignoring this would just make him biased, not a real scientist. So he delivers this incredible admission, saying that muons never lie, and this density was definitely programmed. He goes from total skeptic to believer, declaring it a scientific fact that the mountain knows Ikra because it actually heard it.
CERN's new frontier, the global revelation. This hyperlocal discovery in Mecca doesn't just stay in the cave. In the story, it kicks off a massive global paradigm shift in science. At the International Conference on Muon Tomography, Zainul drops a bombshell. He overlaps a Fourier transform of the cave's physical density with a standard audio spectrogram of the first 5 verses of Surah Al-Alaq. It's a 99.9% match. The physical density of the rock and the audio of the verses are virtually identical, laid bare for the entire scientific community to see. This overwhelming proof prompts Dr. Hans to actually stand up at the conference and declare that if a divine command is uttered in a place, its physics retains the memory. It's a profound thought, right? The idea that the universe isn't just random, but that physics itself is an immutable recording device for monumental historical events.
And the narrative wraps up with a huge expansion of all this. CERN launches the Muon All-Lac project. It's an entire division dedicated to hunting down ancient acoustic fossils all over the world. They start scanning historical religious sites like Mount Sinai, looking for microscopic acoustic memories. And they actually discover that the sharpness of a stone's fractal density is directly tied to the intensity of ancient vocal resonance. Looking back on this life-altering journey, Zainul writes something deeply profound in his diary. He notes that while he usually tracks particles at CERN, today he tracked the particle of a command, hidden in the heart of a mountain for 14 centuries. He didn't just find a new way to scan rocks, he found the enduring physical footprint of history. So as we wrap up this explainer, the story leaves us with a deeply personal, almost poetic thought. If the acoustic vibration of a single spoken word is powerful enough to permanently rearrange the solid crystals of a mountain, shouldn't it be able to soften a stone heart? It's definitely something to think about as you go about your day. Thanks for exploring this with me.